Hello there, my name is MA1 Brazier and I am North Sacramento's CFL. Today I'm going to go over a few things that are important to talk about during the INDOC presentation. First and foremost on this front page is just my contact information that you should utilize if you have any questions about the CFL program, upcoming PRTs, or anything of the sorts. I put my phone number and the North Sacramento CFL email, as well as I listed the 2 ACFLs that we have on staff. So let's get started. First and foremost, just some basic information about your PFA. Some of you guys may be veterans of the reserves. Some of you may be new coming from active duty to the reserves. Some of you may be straight from A school. So these are all different categories of people that I want to make sure that we address. Some people may know a lot about what the PFA is like in the reserves and some not. So let's go over some basics for you guys. At North Sacramento, the PFA cycle will generally run about 3 months in a row. So in the spring, we'll have generally April, May, and June drill weekend opportunities to take it. And the winter cycle will cover September, October, or November drill weekend. So these 3 opportunities are just a blanket rule. You don't actually have to do a makeup special request sheet or anything of the sort in order to do those PRTs. You'll just have 3 chances to take it. With that being said, you only have those 3 chances to take it. So make sure that you take advantage of the 3 chances and get it done as soon as you can. I always advise knocking it out during the first month. So then you don't have to think about it anymore and you know that it's done. God forbid, you get hurt or something happens to you between the May and the June drill weekend and you haven't taken it just yet, and boom, now you can't take it in the June drill weekend. So let's be proactive and get it done as soon as we can. As always, with your PFA, you have to have an up-to-date physical health assessment, and that's the PHA. You have to do your PAR-FQ, and you have to be in your official Navy PT uniform, as always, to conduct the PFA, the BCA, all that good jazz. Also, the unit ACFL will be your first point of contact when it comes to anything PFA related. Make sure you're utilizing your unit personnel so that I don't get bombarded, and they can really be trained and you can utilize that person to their fullest potential. As always, there will be a 10-week notice for the PFA from North Sacramento. So this upcoming cycle, though this cycle currently was canceled due to COVID, stand by for the new 10-week notice that's going to come up for the fall cycle, okay? So that notice will detail every month that you can take it, how to do your waiver, what needs to be done, etc., etc. So be mindful of those things. You can always access that on the NOS SharePoint as soon as it gets completed as well, okay? Next up, the PFA process. First up is going to be your PHA. So when it comes to the CFL cycle, we will detail in the 10-week notice when you should start conducting or get your PHA completed. The PHA is important because it takes, not only because it takes a while and you need to get it done ahead of time, but we need to make sure that you're in the best physical health that you can be in order to put that strenuous activity on your body during the actual PRT, okay? You need to reach out to the medical department in order to complete your PHA. They'll give you the website, they'll give you the contact information, and they'll show you how to get it done, okay? Next up is our PAR-FQ. Once and only once you complete your PHA can you access your PAR-FQ on your PRIMS account, and you access that PRIMS account via BOL. This document combined with the PHA is what's going to tell us as CFLs and as a NOSC and as a medical department that you're physically fit enough or physically healthy enough and cleared by medical to complete your PRT, okay? The PHA or the PAR-FQ must be completed on PRIMS electronically only. So we're no longer doing paper PAR-FQs. There may be a onesie or twosie that has to do a paper PAR-FQ, but those are very circumstantial, okay? You need to make sure that you get that PAR-FQ done at least 30 days before the cycle. So during that 10-week notice, when you're reading it, make sure you pull the details out of the dates that those PAR-FQs are due. When you show up to the BCA on the Saturday of your designated PRT for your unit, and you have not done your PAR-FQ electronically, you will be turned away at the door of the drill hall by my ACFLs for not having completed your PAR-FQ, and you'll have to come back a different month. We will no longer have any exceptions. You won't be able to run up to medical and knock it out because I can't see in the system that your PHA and your PAR-FQ are done. So let's get those done ahead of time. Let's be proactive and not be turned away at the door, okay? Next up, after your PHA and your PAR-FQ is your actual PRT signups. So I will put a list of signups on the door to the drill hall and at the quarterdeck for people to sign up for the PRT. I will have each unit's time slots designated before the drill weekend, and the sign up sheet is actually mostly so you can sign up for the bike or the treadmill, because we only have a limited amount of those available for the PRT. So keep in mind that those will fill up fast, so get your name on them quick. And if there happens to be extra slots in other units' time frames, then we can talk about filling those up, of course. But just make sure you're proactive with those signups, and then you take a look at what time your unit actually is going to conduct their BCA on Saturday and then their PRT on Sunday. Next up after signups is your actual BCA. So now we're getting ready to take the actual PRT. So your unit will have a time slot on those signups. You will show up that Saturday morning or Saturday midday in your official PTU as always, ready to get your height and weight done, okay? You will get taped if needed, and you gotta make sure as the member, you have to remember that BCA score sheet needs to be filled out and signed by the ACFL or the CFL that is standing by. If it's not signed and you haven't seen it and they haven't collected it, it didn't count, okay? So let's make sure that we take those things into our own hands and we see that score sheet being signed and we see that score sheet being recorded, okay? Last and finally on the actual PFA process, as always, is the PRT, okay? So members are going to show up for the PRT on the Sunday morning of that drill weekend that's designated for their unit. And you're going to be in your official PTU gear, ready to rock and roll. You're hydrated, you've eaten a healthy meal, and you're going to show up in your PT gear and you're going to ready to do your warm-up. And then go right into the sit-ups for 2 minutes, push-ups for 2 minutes, and we're going to do our cardio option, okay? Again, with the documents, we want to make sure that the member signs the official PRT score sheet that the ACFL or the CFL has in their hand. You want to sign that to verify the validity of the score. You want to make sure that they wrote down the scores the right way, that you actually passed and didn't fail on accident because they wrote the wrong thing down, that they didn't write the wrong scores in the wrong name slot, etc. I like to say to take a picture of that because you never know, it is a piece of paper and human error is involved in that process. So take a picture of it if you need to, and just make sure that you sign that score sheet, okay? And I don't have to track you down later for it. Next up, what are your responsibilities as the member when it comes to your PRT? So first and foremost, I talked about this in the first slide, but you will have 3 chances to take the PRT. If you don't take it in one of those 3 available chances, then you'll receive a fail. There's no exceptions. There's no more straggler PRTs. There's no more, I didn't take it in this month, but then I was sick in the last month. That it's not an acceptable excuse at this point. So you have 3 solid chances. I don't care when you take it, but you need to make sure you take it. And I always advise to take it in the first one to knock it out, okay? There is no makeup PRT special request chit needed to take it. Just take it, okay? Next up is the admin part of the PFA. As a reminder, it is your responsibility as a member to make sure you're checking your PRIMS record to verify the entry of your score and to make sure that it's correct, that you didn't actually, it doesn't say that you failed it even though you didn't, that the score, you know, that your score didn't get skipped in the entry. So let's make sure that you're checking your score every couple weeks to make sure it's correct, okay? Sometimes I have members that come to me and they didn't have a PRT entry from 2 years ago. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't the CFL then, so they have to do the diligence to track down that score, and then we have to do correction letters, and it's this whole game of shenanigans that you just don't want to get into. So just make sure that your score is entered correctly. If you have a waiver, it's entered. If you're pregnant, it's entered. Whatever the situation may be, make sure that you take that responsibility in your own hands. Also, if you're deployed, MOB'd, on AT, on ADSW, or you took the PRT at another command, or you were active duty when you took the PRT and now you're in the reserves, but it's not reflecting, whatever those situations may be, you need to make sure that you provide the CFL, myself at this time, an official PRT score sheet that is signed by the CFL and a witness, and an official BCA sheet signed by whoever administered those things for you, okay? Those need to be emailed to the NOS Sacramento CFL email, or a copy given directly to myself, because I can't possibly track 400 people and know if they actually took the PRT when, you know, a quarter of the personnel are mobilized. So they are taking those PRTs outside of the NOSC opportunities. So let's make sure we take those responsibilities and take them into our own hands and get those things knocked out. And of course, ask me if you have any questions, okay? Next up, medical waivers. This is a big one that we've recognized as some issues from the last cycle, and I want to make sure that I go over it in detail. So if you need a medical waiver, okay, you broke your leg or your ankle or your pinky toe, I don't care what it is. If you need a medical waiver for any reason, the process starts with medical. And it's in the name, okay? So make sure that you're seeing medical. They're going to make sure that you provide the supporting documentation for whatever the medical reason is that you need to get a waiver. That's likely going to come from your civilian doctor, because you guys are reservists, unless you've seen the provider and they've verified it and given you documentation. You must provide that documentation with a filled out medical waiver form, okay? Once medical gets those things and then you are seen by a provider with those things at the NOSC, the provider will either say, yes, we're going to sign off on this, or we're not. And if they decide to, then that form and your supporting documentation is going to go to the commanding officer to get reviewed and signed. When and if he signs those things, he will document on there, along with the medical provider, whether or not your BCA portion of the PRT is waived. Very, very, very rarely is the BCA waived, okay? So the key takeaway to the medical waiver portion is that you must do the BCA if you have a medical waiver. I hate to see people getting failures on their PFA because they didn't realize, they forgot, they thought they were good to go, it slipped their mind, whatever the reason is. They didn't do the BCA even though they had a medical waiver, and their medical waiver said that they need to do the BCA. So remember to do the BCA, or you will receive a failure, okay? And please ask me, myself, or medical if you have any other questions about the waivers themselves, okay? Next up, communication. So as always, with anything we do in the Navy, communication is key. If you have an issue with making it to the PRT, you're going to be MOB'd, you're going to be on AT, you know, you got a wedding one weekend and you got something else going the weekend, please communicate those things with me. We can't plan ahead or have your back if we don't know, okay? Stay on top of the accuracy of your prims and be proactive in completing the PHA, PARFQ, waivers, BCA, PRT, etc. So be proactive and communicate is the key. And this is your career. I would hate to see somebody's advancement or eval get negatively affected by the fact that they didn't communicate something properly, or they didn't take care of something, or be proactive with stuff. So let's do our diligence here, and let's make sure that when it comes to the PRT that you own it, and you're prepared. And as always, of course, if you have any issues working out or any nutrition guides or anything like that, please reach out to me so we can get you those resources. And if you ever happen to fail the PRT or the BCA and you get on the FEP program, that's a whole other situation that we can get into, which would be a whole other 10-minute video. So we'll skip that for now, but just saying, if you get on FEP, show up to FEP, show up to the meetings, show up to the workouts, show up to the mock PRT so we can get you off of FEP and get you ready to go. We've designed a program here at NOS Sacramento that is really positive, and my goal here is to get you to start loving working out and start loving the progress that you're seeing, and to just want to be great when it comes to fitness. So it's no judgments, it's just all about progression and being positive. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. Again, scroll back to the beginning of this video and pull my information, okay? I hope you guys are staying fit out there during this shelter at home and you guys are figuring out some really good at-home workouts, okay? Thank you, and that's all I got. Talk to you soon.